Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for joining the Retail Bakers of America for our Dream Team Holiday Trends with Anne this morning. We're going to get right to it because I know we don't have a ton of time, and I love when Anne is the instructor, it's always super fun and we get a lot out of it. So we want to give her the full hour. So Anne, I'm going to hit this to go to presenter view, and then that way they can see you and not the rest of us. And thank you, Anne, for being here as always. You're one of our favorites, so thank you. Okay, here we go. It is all you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all having a wonderful morning. I know I am. I'm going to do one of my favorite things is decorating for the holidays. Anyway. And I'm sure some of you know I came out with a knit line with marvelous molds, and you can see that this is one of the patterns, and it's really become an amazing part of my decorating in the winter season, only because it's super easy and fast, and even my daughter can do it. So it's worth, I think, investing in at least one of them. And I'm going to show you some other techniques also that don't include the knit molds, but just to get started. I do have a buttercream cake here, and I have already applied one panel to the side here. I'm going to show you how I do that. So the cake is just buttercream normally. I chilled it so it's hard to the touch, and we have about 100% humidity here. So I'll use extra cornstarch. I'm just going to adjust this to what I'm doing. So what I do is I take a sachet with cornstarch and I just dab it on the mold. A little more today because it's so humid. And then I'm going to take a rolling pin. I'm first going to roll it out so that it's about the size of the mat. So it'll be the same size. And I just overlay it. And there's a bunch of different ways you can impress the mold. You can either use a fondant smoother and just kind of jam it in there. I personally like to use the rolling pin because I feel like I get a better result. There are little guides along the edges, so it kind of self-cuts, but sometimes you can use a knife to just do it a little bit more. So I'm going to show you how. The best way to do it is kind of roll with little rolls instead of just going across. This way you make sure all the fondant kind of jams into the mold really well. And you can also use gum paste or modeling chocolate. I even have friends who do clay and they use this mold too. All right, so I'm just going to trim it a little bit. And this is what's called a Simpress with marvelous molds, and that just means that you can apply it directly to the side of the cake, which makes it even easier. You don't have to remove it and then attach it. You can, and I have before, depending on what I'm going for. Like I did a buffalo check one last year, and I basically pulled out each of these imprints and then cut them into squares and then threw them in the freezer. And then once they were all cut, I could kind of attach it to the cake. All right, so everyone can see it's all in there. I'll give it another pat with my fondant smoother. And I don't even need any water because it's so humid, but I will try. So I will take a little bit of water. If it's very humid, you could even just use a little bit of vodka or lemon extract because it dries pretty quickly. Just wetting it. And the beauty of this is that it matches up with the next piece. So you just mark your guide along the edge where you left off. And you want to really push it in there. You don't be shy. Oops. And then you just go like that. And look at that. And you look super fancy and like you did something really hard, but you did not. So I really love this knit mold just because I use it on cookies, and I'll show you, and cupcakes. But you can also use it for like baby showers and stuff. And there's a lot of different molds, which makes it fun because you don't have to do the same one. This is just the standard knit pattern. What I'm also going to show you is if really fondant isn't your thing, and you don't want to put too much of it on your cake, or you have a case and you just want to add a little bit of decorating to some basic cakes. We had a retail shop, we would add little bits of knit onto our just basic buttercream cakes, and we charged, you know, 15 bucks more for them because they looked extra fancy. And I had interns doing this because it was so easy. So one of the other things that I loved is we have these borders. This one is like a cable knit border, and you can use it in lots of different ways. You can obviously use it to go across the top. If you have a taller cake, you can use it as a base. I'm going to use it just now, and there's a different, this one is sort of a different pattern. I'm going to use it just to go around the bottom here. And it's really easy because the end is a little notch in it. So it's really easy to continue the pattern without you seeing where the seam is, which is nice. And people are always amazed by this because it looks so realistic. I didn't know, there's tons of molds out there. But I think this one's fun because it's not so perfect. We use a real knitter who knit real little pieces. So it actually has the brains of the yarn in it. All right, so same thing. I'm just going to kind of jam it in there. And this one, you can be a little more forceful because it's a little thicker than this impress. Everyone kind of does it a little bit differently, but as long as you get it in there, it really doesn't make a difference. And then you can roll just to make sure it's all the same thickness. It has these guides again. So it literally just, the excess peels away. So it's kind of like idiot proof. I'm giving you all my secrets, I realize. It's all about presentation, right? So now we have this here, and I'm going to take again a little bit of water. Let me get rid of my mess here. And obviously I wouldn't be doing this on a cake half like this and half like that, but just for today's purposes, I'm going to show you. So I basically can do this and stick it on and pull it off, or I can pull it out, which sometimes is easier with this guy, and then just place it on. You can make a bunch of them ahead of time and throw them in the fridge or freezer or under a rag. So you can see that little border there. And then I'll show you just one more so that you can see how it connects. And then you could add Swiss dots or, you know, whatever you want to put on there. And it's nice too because it's not only Christmas, you know, you can use it for all winter holidays really. It's all of a sudden quiet in my house, which is nice. They all left finally. Okay. The other thing which I'll show you when I do the cookies is you can kind of get creative with your fondant color. You don't need to just do a straight up color. You can kind of heather it so it looks like, you know, like a heathered sweater. So I'll mix sometimes gray and ivory and white and kind of marbleize it. And it's a good way of getting rid of like, you know, random colors that you don't know what to do with. You can kind of mix them together. So again, I'm going to wet this. And then you can see the end here, it's going to fit perfectly into this little notch. And then sometimes I'll just take like a little tool and just kind of mush it together so you really don't see the seam. And you can see you really can't see the seam. And it's a really pretty way of adding detail that's easy. I mean, it took like 2 seconds and faster if I wasn't babbling. So you realize that you can decorate your bakery cakes very easily with this. And I'm actually, to finish this cake, I'm actually going to show you one of my favorite ways of decorating for the holidays. And that is that I like to use some non-fondant items. So what I've done is over here, again, it's very humid, so they're very sticky. I candied some cranberries last night, and you can see some of them are shiny, and some of them I covered in sugar. I also candied some mandarin orange slices. So the process of candying is very easy. For the cranberries, I literally boil about half a cup of sugar with about a quarter cup of water for about 4 minutes. And then I throw the cranberries in, coat them, and let them dry in a rack. And then about an hour or two later, you can toss them in sugar if you want. And then the mandarins, I like to throw in boiling water for like a minute. I found that it makes the edges a little bit more tender. And then I put that in a flash, not freeze it, but cool it down in an ice bucket. And then I saute, I boil about 2 cups sugar, 2 cups of water, and a tablespoon or so of orange juice. And I put the mandarins in there and I let them simmer for like 40 minutes to an hour. They're quite tasty and beautiful. And you can also coat them in sugar if you want. Usually, if it wasn't a monsoon outside, they would be dry by now, but they're not. But that's okay. And then one of my favorite non-edible preparations is rosemary. So I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. It's been done before, but it is really elegant. And whenever I do it, people are always amazed. So all I'm going to do is take a little bit of extra buttercream here and just go around the edge of my cake. And I'm going to make a rosemary wreath. And the whole wreath thing is kind of very still in style. And even though we're kind of getting away from the naked cakes, I think there's some beauty to a little bit of a rustic cake, especially at the holidays. You can kind of get away with your sort of messily iced buttercream. Smells delicious. As you can see so far. I just have this pretty wreath. And you can make it as thick and thin as you want. What I like to do then is add some of my cranberries as like little holly, and then I throw in some more rosemary. And I do like to mix the sugared ones with the shiny ones just because I think it adds a little bit of interest, but you can do whatever you want really. And these candied cranberries last about a week if you can refrigerate them and put them in a Tupperware. So you can make them ahead of time and have them ready to go. And I mean, you get one bag and it makes a ton of them, so. And they're actually, I didn't think they would be, but they're actually quite tasty to snack on as well. Oh, and the beautiful thing is the orange syrup that is created after you cook your mandarins is absolutely delicious. And you can use it in a cocktail. You can make like a fancy teeny or throw it in some Prosecco or even just with some seltzer. So I always keep that too. It's like my payment for all my work. It's like I get to have a fancy cocktail. So now, let's see where I'm at. And I'm just going to add now a few more touches. Depending if you've just iced your cake, you obviously don't need to add more buttercream because it'll be soft. But if you have not, then you might need to. I'm just adding a few more little pieces just so it looks like the berries are kind of in between. I made this last year for a friend's birthday, something similar, and because I had this very last minute, and I just used what I had in my refrigerator, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful!" And I was like, "Yeah, oh my God." Okay, and then I just like to take the little. I just think they're so pretty, so I just kind of add them in at the end. Very Martha Stewart, but I think it looks kind of like a classic holiday. And you can curl them if you want. So this is sort of my finished product. So something like this is obviously very quick and easy. And you've decorated your cake. You could do it completely covered if you want. You obviously don't need to mix these two elements together. You could, but you don't need to. So that's it. And at the shop, what we would do a lot of times is if we just like this on the side, we would just put a plaque on top that said happy holidays or happy birthday or whatever the person wanted. So I'm going to move on to our next section, which actually I took this whole thing out of here. And that is cupcakes, because everybody loves cupcakes. And they're another quick and easy way to decorate. Sometimes I find like it's just easier, especially if there's a lot of people or for kids. We sold these also in our shop in like 4-packs, and people get very excited because they're very cute. So here's a Santa I'm going to show you. And then I've got Rudolph here. And those are pretzel ears, but ant letters, you can make fondant ones, or you could use dip them in chocolate. And I'm also just going to show you some things that if you just want to throw on top of your cupcake, I'm going to show you how to do that too. So we have not just knit patterns, but we also have these little button molds. That's what Rudolph's nose is made out of. So it looks like a pom-pom. And then we also have like what looks like a leather button. It's kind of hard to see, but I'll show you when I pop it out. And these are really fun elements. There's also a toggle, just because it, again, looks so realistic, and it's so easy that my kids literally help me do it all the time. I'm like, you make some pom-poms. But then like I don't realize I'm not watching, and I turn around, there's like 100 pom-poms. I'm like, and they're like, Mom, why aren't you using them all? I'm like, oh, we'll see them for next time. All right, so I'll show you the pom-pom really quick, and then I'll show you how to do a cupcake. So you just literally press it in to the form, that, pop it out, and you've got the texture of the knit. So another cute thing to do on cupcakes, especially if you're selling them, is you just make a couple pom-poms, and then you can just throw them on. They come in 3 different sizes. And this is very cute and sweet, and you can use holly leaves or cut out snowflakes or anything with the knit, and it just adds an extra element to that. So it's not just, you don't have to cover the whole, these are obviously covered in fondant, but you don't have to use the knit for that. And I also have done where obviously you take the cranberries and the little rosemary, and you can just put them on top of your cupcake as well. That looks kind of cute too. I mean, people don't necessarily want to eat rosemary on their cupcake, but it looks pretty, so. Okay. So now what I've done is I have just covered a cupcake, domed it. I throw it in the freezer real quick to get it smooth. And I'm going to demonstrate I will do the Santa. Actually, I'll do the wood. So in this case, you're going to obviously pull the Simpress out because you're going to use it to cut it out. So now when you have a darker color like this, and you're going to get some cornstarch on it, so you have to either airbrush it off when you're done, or brush it off the powder sugar, because it gets so nice and get a little bit stuck in your pattern. Jesus. So I just popped this right out. And I'm just going to use a cutter. Just a round cutter that's the same size as the cupcake. And I'm literally just going to cut it out. Obviously, a lot of people do this with regular plain fondant. And obviously this Rudolph could be done without the knit. You could just do him with plain fondant also, or any texture. And then I just place it on top. I just move it down. And then if it's very powdery, I can kind of just brush off the cornstarch. So these obviously can be done in assembly line form. You know, you have one person covering them. You've got someone making pom-poms. I've pre-cut out some eyeballs just to make it easier. And I pre-cut out our nose. So my eyeballs are just, obviously, I just use 2 tips to make. And it's a little easier to work with when they're dry, but you can use them wet too. So I will just wet the back of this a little bit. And obviously I made mine sort of cross-eyed. I don't know if that's just how I feel today, but you can do whatever you want, obviously. We did little lambs for baby showers like this. Also, they're very cute with the knit. And even some winter wedding cakes, you know, they don't like too much decoration other than the white knit. All right, we stick our little nose on. And then I'm just going to take a tiny little bit of black and make a tiny little smile. And there, our little piece de resistance are our little ears, antlers. I just took pretzels and broke them in half. It's not brain surgery. You can also make chocolate ones. I was just not that fancy today. But they're still kind of cute with the pretzels. Let's see, do I have time to do them? All right, I'll speed do Santa. So for Santa, I just take some pink fondant. You can obviously use more fleshy color. I just think the pink, sometimes a flesh color can look a little fleshy. So it's not really desirable to eat. So I kind of stick with a more light pink for this kind of situation. So I'm just gonna roll this out pretty thin because I'm putting kind of a few layers on and no one really wants that much fondant in their mouth. Except maybe my children who like will eat it out of the bucket. But the average human probably does not want to do that. What am I gonna do? Oh, here it's right. Okay, so I'll cut it out again. All right, so just covered in pink. And I always like to make his little round nose right away. Add a little water. Oops, it's a little too big. Okay, so far that looks interesting. that's for another holiday. Okay, I'm going to take a little ball tool and just make 2 little marks for eyeballs. So he's got 2 little eyeball marks. And then I'm going to just take some black fondant. You could use dragées if you have them also. I don't happen to have any at the moment, so I'm just going to roll tiny balls. You can also do like kind of like the gnome looking thing where the hat kind of covers the eyes. You don't see them, you just see a little nose. Those are very cute too. And then it's one less step, which is nice. So one of the, well, actually, I'll do the hat first. So for the hat, I use just the standard one again. I use the standard one a lot, just because it's sort of basic. But I'll show you the cable one on the cookies. If you have a good amount of real estate, like a cake, you can really have fun with the cable knits. But on something small like the cupcake, you don't really see it very well. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a circle out, like so, for his hat. And then I'm going to cut another circle, so it's kind of a half circle. And I'm just going to place it on his head, obviously. And you can kind of point the tip if you want a little bit. That's what he looks like. You can make little elves like this also, and just do like little giant ears over their hats. You can do snowmen, which we do a lot also, especially because they're good for any holiday. And then we'll do the trim now. So one of the other molds we have is, it looks like the edge, like when you have a sweater, the cuff. So it's sort of like the ribbing. So that's a really fun thing too to do. Oh, my hands are not clean. No, it's all right. It's a fun way to do a little border on a cake as well. So I'm just going to take my pizza cutter and just cut a thin strip of this. And I'll take my other and just put it on the top of his hat. So we have it here. And then we will make one white pom-pom for his hat. And then I will show you one of my other favorite molds is a popcorn knit print. So there's his little hat. I mean, just that alone is kind of cute. It's like a little boy. So for the popcorn, what I'm gonna do is, this is the mold. You can see it. I will use this mold for a lot of different things. It adds a really interesting texture to cakes in general that I really like, or cupcakes. Again, I'm just doing it the same way I did the other ones. You can see this is the pattern. And then I'm going to cut it out again, a circle. And then I'm going to cut out another circle, sort of like that. And I'm going to attach it to my cupcake. And then there he is. And then he just needs a little mustache and he's ready to go. So then I'm just gonna roll. Obviously, again, you can make the Santa without the knit and just do it the same way. You could just texture the beard with a tool. This is making me stress out because I haven't started my Christmas shopping. but that's okay. So I'll just make a few little marks on his mustache. Here we have him, little Santa. All right, so now we got Rudolph and Santa. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you is cookies. And the cookies are very popular. You know, everyone loves Christmas cookies, holiday cookies. They're great for favors, for parties, winter parties, even weddings. We've used like for baby showers, the knit mold we've used multiple times for just on like a wedding cake cookie. Sorry, I'm just gonna get rid of this red. It's all over my counter. So I have a few cookies here. And first, I'm just going to show you some different things I've done. So this is a mitten, and I use that ribbing on the bottom, and then the other one up here, and then this is that mold that I was telling you that looks kind of like a button. And then in the same genre, I use this little stocking. So that trim I showed you on the cake that's what I use for the top there. And this one is also a good sort of example of the marbling of the fondant, so it looks kind of like a heather. And then just to show you, it doesn't have to be just Christmas. You could use just for a winter holiday. You can do them on snowflakes. And this is a cable knit, which is really cute on the snowflake. And these I've done honestly, like, your family was always the last one to get their baked goods. So on like Christmas Eve when I'm rushing because I'm not decorating my cookies, I'll like just roll out and just slap them on and they still look really pretty. There's no piping involved. It's pretty easy. And just to dry everything, which is nice, especially if you're delayed. These are little holiday lights. And you could obviously paint these silver if you wanted. And then finally, I'm going to show you Santa here, which is sort of in a similar fashion to cupcakes. I will show you now how I do it. So I'm going to first use this mitten, and I'm going to show you the mold that has the cable knit, because it's one of my favorites.
And we have a question in the chat from Patricia. She said, thank you. Can you use color fondant or the cake for the cake, like a light yellow or green?
Yes, absolutely. You can use any color you want on the cake. You can cover the whole cake in whatever color. You can layer them. We've done tons of different colors, and it's a great way to incorporate, for the holidays, obviously red and green, or if it's for a wedding or a baby shower, you can sort of use whatever colors they're using. So yes, good question. All right, so I'm going to put this on this mold the same way. And I often get asked sort of how we adhere the fondant to cupcake. And I used to sit there and put smear buttercream all over them, and it would take a really long time. And half the time, by the time I went to put the fondant on, the buttercream was dry. And I noticed that it would actually, the whole fondant piece would sometimes just pop off. So then I just literally started using water and a paintbrush, and it works much better. It's quicker, cheaper, more effective. So I will take my cutter, and I'm just going to cut out and I'm going to sort of trim off the wrist part just because I want to put a different thing there. So you can see. So what I'm going to do, I'll do a pink trim, and we can use this ribbed one again. And sometimes if I'm doing this and I'm doing multiple cookies, I know you have to roll out each time, so it's not like you can just throw it through the sheeter and cut a bunch of them. But if I have like a few different cutters, like the stocking, different sizes, I'll obviously piece them so that I'm not wasting any of my rollouts. But for this purpose, I'm just kind of doing each one separately. So you can see, you can also add, like with royal icing, make like a fluffy fur trim if you wanted. And then the cute thing with the cookie is that you can add these, well, you can do it with the cupcakes too, but I think it looks very cute on cookies, these little buttons. So I'm going to take my bigger one so you can see it. So you can do this a few different ways. I've used brown fondant. I've also used just white or ivory and then gone back over them before I put them on the cookie, let them dry. And I'll just, paint them a little bit of brown and yellow gel color to give them a really like realistic leather look. So depending on, what you're making. Obviously for this, it's very cute and cartoony. But I will kind of paint it with a little bit of water just to give it a little shiny appearance, or you can obviously use some piping gel or whatever glaze you would like, but you can see. So again, that took me like, if I wasn't talking, it would take me like 2 minutes to cover. So that's kind of a fun one too. And then, why don't I do Santa? Because, well, Santa's very similar to the cupcake. But one thing I will tell you, again, with the amount of fondant in your mouth when you're eating cookies, some people don't like it. And the water does adhere it so that you cannot really get it off. That is one negative, I guess, if you don't want to eat the fondant. But one thing is I do try when I'm doing lighter cookies like this guy, I try to make the bottom layers very thin And I'm not going to cover his whole face, the whole thing with the pink. I'm just going to literally cover where his like face is. This way you don't have even more in your mouth than you want. Okay, so I got my cutter here. So if I'm doing this a lot, maybe I'll make a little guide so I can just, put them down and I know exactly where to cut. Sometimes if I'm being especially lazy, I will just kind of put it on the cookie and trim while it's on there. And what I mean by that is I'll kind of guess what the face will look like. And then I'll put just a little bit of water in the middle so I can take it off if I need to. That's pretty good. So this is the part I'm covering right now with that pink. And usually when I cover the cookies with fondant, I like to leave them out to dry overnight, or at least for like 5 or 6 hours, just so that it gets a little bit firm on the outside before I package them. And then you can package them and they're good to go. They will stay for a really long time. All right, so this one I'm going to do my white. I'll do my beard first. So I'm doing a similar popcorn. I'm just cutting the general shape out, and then I'll take my circle cutter here and do this. So like it looks like a costume, a costume here. Just got a little bit of water. And the nice thing is like you can kind of stretch it and fudge it a little bit. It doesn't have to be completely perfect. So that's sort of where I'm at now. And then I'm going to make my little hat. I did a lot last year with gingerbread men wearing little masks, little knit masks. But the gingerbread are really cute and really fun to do because you can give them sweaters. I just cover them with plain brown, or you can just keep them the gingerbread color, obviously. And then just make little sweaters or little vests or little scarves. Same with snowmen. It makes snowman cookies really cute and easy because you can just make little scarves, throw them around them, and they're basically done. Okay, so now I'm doing the top of his hat. Obviously, I'm just showing you a way to adapt to this. You can obviously do it simpler than I'm doing it or more complicated. It's really up to you how much time you have. If I'm only making like 6 cookies, I might spend, 15 minutes on each one because why not? But if I have to make like, 100, I'm not going to sit there and make, I would probably figure out an easier way to do Santa here, just so it's not so many steps. Sometimes I'll kind of go back in and make the fur again with the royal at the end. So this is just his little trim on his hat. You just want to make sure you never have any fondant kind of hanging off the side of the cookie because it will snap when it dries. So make a pom-pom. I really wanted to make like a pom-pom, but it's almost impossible. We couldn't do it, but that's another addition you can do just by hand, either with a little pike extruder or just kind of at the end of a tool. So see him there. And we'll just do his little nose and eyes and we'll be done. So I'm doing the eyes the same way I did on the cupcake. I'm just making little holes. Again, you could cover the eyes or use dragées. I've seen people flip little mini chocolate chips around, so the flat side sticks out, and that's kind of cute too. Especially if you have kids decorating, they like chocolate. Who doesn't like chocolate? All right, and then what did I do with this? Oh, right. So we see his eyes there. And again, this could be done in sort of steps so that you're doing it all at once. And it wouldn't take very long. I usually make a good amount at the holidays, whether it's for orders or just to give as gifts to friends. And this is just such an easy way. I think the time that's saved from piping and all that other stuff, I mean, that has its place, obviously, but sometimes it's nice to phone it in a little and it still look really good. All right, so on this one, I'm going to make his little mustache go downward. Just like that. And then we'll do another one. And then you could always take a little bit of pink petal dust and give him some rosy cheeks if you want. And you could do anything really. And it's amazing how almost any cookie cutter that you do in holiday colors in knit, all of a sudden looks holiday. It doesn't even have to be a holiday shape, even just a circle or a square. Okay, so there we go. So we've got our mittens and our Santa. And now I'm ready if anyone has any other questions.
So I'm going to unmute everybody, and then if you do have questions, you can ask Anne. Anne, can you tell us a little bit about how these molds came to be? Because I have a feeling you had something to do with that.
Yeah. So when my daughter turned 1, she's born on January 9th, and I wanted to do like a winter Wonderland princess kind of thing, but not the same way that I've been doing for everybody else. So I really wanted to incorporate like a knit. So my mom knits. So I had her knit me a little square of cable knit. And we did it twice because the first material was too like fibrous. And the second one we used, I think, like polyester, so it worked a little better. And I had them make your own mold set from Marvelous Molds, where it's like putty basically. You roll it out and you leave it in there, and then you pull it out, and it's a mold. So it's a reverse mold, obviously, but it was better than nothing. So I covered the sides of the cake in that, and then I made like a skirt, and it was, and people just went. I did mittens also. People went crazy. Like, I mean, I got so many phone calls and text messages and emails saying, how did you do that? That's the most realistic knit. So then I approached Dominic at Marvelous Molds, and I said, I think I have an idea. So they got on board quickly because there's so many different things that you could do. Even like the little toggles are just so cute that you might have on like a little sweater. And it's so versatile. Like every cake I've seen people do are so different. I've seen people use the knit to make flowers. I mean, there's just so many different things that you can use it for. And like I was saying, even on top of a cupcake, even you just roll it out and you're cutting out, hearts or stars or anything. It just looks very sweet, and it's, it looks fancy. That's how it came about. I did not knit. They had a professional knitter.
If anybody has any questions, I'm going to go to gallery view so we can, I know everybody still has black screens, but that's okay. So if you have questions for Anne, as you're heading into the holiday season, this is always really great to kind of find a product that, one, won't take up all of your staff's time, and two, looks completely cute and adorable and will probably sell out. So I think these molds are for sure that, like Anne was saying too, like once you have the steps down and you can have an assembly line of folks doing it, it would surely make it a lot easier as well. So
yes, and we had like multiple of these plain ones, so that we had multiple people rolling at once. And a lot of times they sell them in a bundle, so they're not really terribly expensive anyway. But you can also pick and choose. And I will just show you one other little thing that, this is like a little pom-pom trim. That's very cute. So you can kind of have that hanging around the bottom of a cake. But I didn't cut you off. Go on.
I think I have there's a couple people still muted. So if you're on mute and you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and we can ask Ann any question at all. So, and this is so much fun. I know everybody's getting to busy season right now. This is when like the office staff, we see all of you guys, you know, all of our bakers and retailer friends like, ah. Yeah. So we love trying to putting this holiday dream team together of like nice, easy, somewhat easy, like things that you can do in the case, you know, that are efficient and adorable.
Yeah, like obviously like these are pretty quick and easy and more than the Santa, but you can charge a lot more for the Santa. People see Santa and they're like, I need Santa. Like,
right.
With the kid and they're like, oh, Santa. And you're like, okay. And we would often sell like a pack of 4 of like this, the Santa, a snowman, and I don't know, an elf or something. And people would pay a lot of money for them. They like, I mean, I was honestly at their points, I was like, really? Like, okay. But, and even cake pops, which I don't know how, you know, popular those are anymore, but we did some little snowman heads and we would just use a little knit mold and just have a little thing hanging down. And one other thing I want to mention is a lot of these decorations, I would have my staff pre-make. So as we were approaching busy season, you know we need Rudolph noses and eyes and, you know, even Santa mustache, you can have a lot of it. All these buttons can be pre-made, pre-painted. So it's really, really quick. And you just store them like in a Tupperware, away from the light though, just so that the color doesn't get weird.
And then Marissa, thank you. Marissa put the link to Ann's kit, the molds kit that's from Marvelous Molds in the chat box. So if you have a chance, click on that. We'll also send it to you via email so you have it. But again, you'll, I'm sure, get it before the holidays and be able to use it right away. So
they usually run sales, so I'm sure something will come up.
Actually, I think I was on their site and there is like a percentage off. I can't remember what it was, but there is currently a sale on right now. So
it's like a vast, it's like a hole because you're like, oh, that's I need that.
Well, if there aren't any questions for Ann, I don't want to chop anybody's time here, but are there any other questions for Ann before we say thank you? Well, Ann, obviously.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
Yes, and if you would be 2 or 3 molds, you know,
She's cutting out.
versatile, which one would you pick?
I'm sorry.
So I think the question was, if you could pick 2 or 3 versatile molds, which ones would you pick?
Definitely this guy. That's the main Simpress. I think it's called basic knit or something to that effect. Knit Simpress. And then I love and then I love this guy too, the cable knit one. And then I would probably do a trim of some sort, whether it's, you know, this ribbing or the cable knit. Probably the cable knit, I think, is probably a little more fun. And then you could always throw in a button or something.
Okay.
If you want it. But yeah, those two Simpresses I think are the most versatile. I use these the most.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you, Ann, so much. I know we probably won't see you till January, but or really anybody else for that matter, but we hope that means everybody's very busy. So Ann, thank you so much for always taking the time for the RBA and giving us your volunteer hours and things. So thank you. We appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who's on the call, and hopefully you'll join us the next 2 mornings for the rest of our presentation. So thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great day. Thank you.